Dear Harstem, I know Terran versus Protoss may not be Imba in terms of balance per se. However, in terms of mechanical effort, it is crazy imbalanced. The effort of my opponent in this game was spamming zealots from gateways, which not only get automatically hotkeyed for you, on top of that they even automatically get transformed to warp gates. Terran also lacks a proper answer to zealots in my opinion. Widow Mines, ever since they reduced the splash, feels incredibly lackluster versus zealots and not worth to invest in anymore. I can't understand how it's fair that Terran and Zerg gotta hotkey their production / build add-ons on racks manually, while Protoss macro gets automized to that level at which it is sitting at right now. Add to that the fact that TVP currently is max expansion from Protoss, which as a Terran you can't really do since they usually go mass gateway, to which your only proper answer is turtling and going for the late game where Terran is too strong. I can admit that. But getting there is so incredibly hard and inconsistent that even Clem, Maru or Bian, etc. go for it every single game. Protoss still can scout way too easy with the sentry, still get their crap automatically hotkeyed and even morphed, and Mass Gateway Zealot is a strat that is way too easy to play, is way too strong for how hard it is from the Terran side to play against. Protoss got way too many training wheels nowadays. So tell me, is Protoss in terms of mechanical effort imbalanced, and should it be patched harder, again, dear Harstem, or do you think Protoss deserved all of those training wheels on their bike? This was sent in by Soon, a European Terran Grandmaster at 5400 MMR, placing him somewhere in the top 100 of the Grandmaster ladder on Europe. And he asked a simple question. Is Protoss in terms of mechanical effort imbalanced, or do I suck? And we're here to answer that. I genuinely find this a very difficult question even to approach, given the examples that Soon raised here. He's specifically talking about the morphing of the gateways and the way that toss macros and it automatically hotkeys for you. Because very often when you talk to players at a high level, the one thing that I think most people agree on is that Terran macro is actually the easiest, because out of the three races, it is the only race that doesn't require you to ever look at your base while you're constructing units. In order to build new buildings, you need to look at your base as a Terran. While you're swapping reactors and tech labs, you need to look at your base as a Terran as well. But you can just hit your hotkey and produce without looking anywhere. That is not possible with Zerg, because you need to inject the entire time. You can kind of produce without looking at your bases, but I think the inject is more time investment than anything Terran does. And for Protoss, in order to warp in, you always need to look at your bases as well. So I feel like there's a lot of good cases to be made for Protoss being an easier mechanical race, but I think the examples that are being raised by Soon are very, very weak, because I don't feel like at the level where Soon is playing, 5.4k MMR, the gateways automatically warping into warp gates is a big deal, or automatically being hotkeyed into control group W, because almost all Protoss players at the high level actually hotkey all of their gateways anyway, because it's easy to count in that case how many gateways you have while you're building them. And you already have a hotkey for it anyway, so most people just have that hotkey no matter what. It is not something that changed. So you're still that effort is still being exerted by most high-level Protoss players. I'd be shocked if the G-Goat machine isn't doing that currently. Either way, let's have a quick look to see what actually is going on in this game. I think we opened up with a gas first into reactor first out of Soon, which is a build order I am not at all familiar with. I've seen reactor first builds from Terran before, but never out of a gas first. I guess this is to hit faster with a quicker factory and still have a very high marine count. But I wonder if you can actually produce the entire way through. And it seems like the answer is no. Like you don't have consistent marine production at all. Like you just cannot afford it. Gas first is economically a little bit weaker when it comes to the minerals. So you might actually end up with a weaker push overall. But I have never really seen that, so I don't want to be too judgy on this particular build, as I'm just not too familiar with what it is. The micro here is very incorrect. So far, 5 Marines have gone down. Not a single Stalker has died. We might see a change right now. But so far this has been one of the worst defenses against a 2-stalker poke that I've ever seen in my entire life. And especially if you're wanting to go in a tank push as a follow-up, 7 Marines for 2 stalkers is a trade that the Protoss probably takes most days of the week. Because you now seen a Cyclone, you know there's not going to be a mine drop. You killed the Marines, which means that a tank push is less likely to actually work as well. Like, this is a great start here for the Protoss player. So I love tank pushes on this map in particular, but I don't love how this early game went so far for soon. I think there are a couple of mistakes that were made already, so we're also kind of getting close to a supply block. Depot's gonna finish up just in time. We have the extra barracks now coming down. The third barracks here actually is blocking the next factory unit. So the production is being added way too fast to the point where we can't have continuous production on all of our buildings due to the lack of cash pretty much, which I think is a mistake. We're also supply block once more, but we still have a little push going across the map, and G-Goat machine at the same time also isn't looking too hot. We have a forge coming out, a third base over in the bottom right corner, which is an interesting call, not one that we see every day. This map is really, really good for tank pushes due to this particular position. If you put a tank in this spot, you can actually hit this mineral patch, which makes it very difficult for the Protoss to mine from this base, because probes will continuously be trying to go onto this mineral patch. Like if you're just mining from the left side, for example, they'll still try to go there. I'm not sure why Soon is not doing that, but instead is just shooting nothing. Like, I think... Yeah, I'm just not a fan of this. This is genuinely very bad. Also bad micro here, no pickup on the Cyclone. Unsieges and resieges again. Okay, I think I know what's happening here. This is a classic case of copying without knowing why you're copying, and then not copying correctly. I see this so freaking often in StarCraft, where people will copy a build or a concept from a high-level player, but then they give their own little twist to it, you know, their own little spin. In this case, the spin or the twist is, you know, the gas first and the fact that we're attacking here from the low ground. Like, tank pushes on Ultralove are super common. The reason why they're so common is because you have an insane position over here and you have an insane position over here, which makes it pretty much impossible for the Protoss to... Well, not impossible to beat it, but very difficult to beat it, because you can shoot at mineral patches, people need to move up a ramp to contest the position. It's just very tough. All that being said, this game is 100% over right now. Soon is up 20 supply. That's pretty much killed this base. Sees a complete lack of workers here, by the way, and that should probably be a little bit suspicious. I don't even really think it matters. Because, I mean, right now we have what? 19 Marines, 2 Vikings, a tank, a Cyclone. Like, this should almost be impossible to lose. If the target fire is somewhat decent here, I feel like this is just 100% win. These Marines, do they have combat shield? They already have combat shield. Like, this is 100% over. I'm not sure why we're running back, because there's 0 units remaining. He literally he could have killed every single worker here. Stim had finished up as well. Like, he had freaking 12 Marines against 0 units. The classic strategy of removing every single defensive unit of the opponent and then going back home. Imagine Indiana Jones did that. You know, he enters the freaking Temple of Doom, falls into 3 different fire pits. You know, his friend gets bitten by a snake, is about to die, as he fights off 3 skeletons and a vampire. And then as he's about to take the goblet of fire back home, he decides to just piss off and retire. Like, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, I love the fact that you want to defend your third base, but surely, if there's 15 probes mining in front of you, and there's 1 Stalker, and you have 15 Marines with combat shield, and on top of that, this Nexus only had like 500 HP remaining, I think majority of the Terrans here would say, you know what, I think I'll just kill that Nexus. Or I'll try to kill some of these workers. I don't think there's a lot of Terrans that would go back home to sit at a third base. I actually think there's no Terrans that would go back home and sit at a third base. All that being said, once more, I still believe that the Terran is in a phenomenal position. The Terran would be in an even more phenomenal position if he'd ever become aware of the fact that there is a third base in the bottom right. He is scouting for a third base right now, which I'm a huge fan of. We see some probes that are trying to transfer over towards the outside base, or maybe towards the third base. Get a little bit of kiting towards the right side as well, and probably should try and pick up and piss off right now. You have a couple of stalkers that are being morphed from the right side. I'm not sure if Soon is aware of this base yet, though. Like, this was a pretty clear warp in the bottom right. On top of that, this is an army that is way too big if the only mining was from this base. So, all the clues are here. Let's see if Soon would have made a decent detective in a different lifetime. Because, he's gotten a lot of information. You got like a partial print on the shoes here. Got a bit of DNA left over. Let's see if the boys in the lab can do their work right now. I can see the gears turning in Soon's head. He's still continuing to build tanks, by the way, right now, playing against an almost pure Zealot army, which is incorrect. He said that he doesn't believe that mines are that good anymore against Zealots because of the reduced splash. I don't really care what he thinks. Like, mines are still good. Like, you can believe all you want, but mines are absolutely the correct answer. As he moves his entire army away and leaves tanks by themselves over at the third base. Yeah, tanks are kind of like an amplifier of stuff that is good. Like, they are good if there's stuff in front of them, but if they're by themselves, they don't do anything. Like, there needs to be something else with it as well. So, losing the 2 tanks there kind of sucked. Mines are a little bit better at defending things just by themselves because they'll just shoot. Overall, though, this was a very solid defense with a positive trade, except for the workers. And whenever something like this happens, one of the most important concepts is to counterattack at high speed. Very often what I see people do is when they have like a winning fight, they just sit around for 5, 10, 15 extra seconds and then don't, boom, straight up go for the counterattack. Like, you probably have worse eco and you have a bigger army. Which means that you want to do something with your bigger army as soon as humanly possible, because your opponent's eco is going to make it that they're going to be much better. Like, this is a huge army. You should just be trying to fight this right now. Hit an EMP and freaking go for it. We get a very scared engagement here out of Soon. Killed 1 or 2 Zealots. Now allows for another 10 gate Zealot warp, or 10 gate warp in to come in. There's only 4 warp gates for now that warp, but there's 10 gateways. So that means that every single time there's a warp in, the G-Goat machine is going to be in a better position every single time. So the fight on this side of the map ended at the 10-minute mark or so, and we're now a full minute later, and all that has happened is that 3 Zealots went down. Like, that is probably not enough damage. Like, 100% it's not enough damage. Now he finally realized, hey, I actually want to fight. He's gonna go in here, he's gonna get the full kill on the Nexus. If Soon were to realize that this bottom right side base right here, he could just walk there and kill that. And once again be in an unlosable position. I mean, he's already up a base, but being up 2 bases is going to make it impossible ever to lose. I love this attack up the natural as well. I don't necessarily think this is a bad call, because you can kite these Zealots for a very long time. And you probably are going to be fine in that case, as long as you can keep kiting them. Which is going to be significantly harder if you back into a wall. Which is the wrong call. Hey, Terran units are... I love that we have a guy complaining about mass Zealots and then doing nothing to beat the mass Zealots. Like, there are 2 very solid ways to beat mass Zealot. Way 1 is using mines. He doesn't want to do that because he doesn't believe in them. It's like one of these things. Like, it doesn't really matter if you believe in them or not. They're just the right thing to do. And the second thing is kiting. Like, Zealots cannot actually reach your army. And the larger your bioforce becomes, the worse the Zealots are going to be. Zealots don't scale very well to a later stage. And he doesn't kite because he walked into a wall, and he doesn't use many mines. Because I think, yeah, he's still building mines with a tech lab, which means he's building them 1 at a time. And of course, if you have 2 mines against 35 Zealots, the fight is not going to be as simple as if you would have had 6 mines or 8 mines. That's why usually reactoring mines is the correct call. Now, we have a flank over here. He could use that to flank. He could have used it to counterattack as well. He could also use it to stand still. There's really a lot of options. The standing still option, however, is probably the worst one. Once again, though, looking at these armies, I feel like it's going to be pretty tough for Soon to actually lose a battle. He knows exactly what his opponent is doing. Knows there's a very large Colossus count. So all you really need to do right now is go up to like 8 or 10 Vikings and then take a fight. Like, that is literally all there is to it. You're up in workers, you're up in army supply, you're gonna be down in upgrades for a bit. Like, you just need to wait until you have your opponent's army completely fully countered. And you're just going to need like 4 more Vikings for that. And you probably do not want to be attacking up a bridge where you're completely clumped up. Although, this might even be fine as well. Is it even possible to lose this game? He's up 60 supply. is very low on the medevacs though. That is the one thing I will say. We don't have a lot of air unit production in general. There's a second starport coming in. Get a scan right now on top of this army. Could probably kill it, right? Could also go for a base trade. Stims half of his army to run into the natural. Has a bunch of mines at home, 2 tanks as well. Probably want to rally into your main base if you know a base trade is happening. Like, I feel like that is such a huge thing to do. On top of that, Terran buildings can float, and base trades for Terran, if you're not playing against High Templar, usually are good. Supplies are also still looking good. There's a planetary here. So all you really need to do is either try to hold your main base with... You probably could have done with the second tank on the low ground, 2 tanks on the high ground, a couple of Vikings in the mix, rally everything into the main base and you should be fine. Or you can just fly all your buildings away and go for the full-on base trade, because it's still 100 supply against 66. Like, that is actually fairly decent. On top of that, you're going to have like 3 bases if you fly them away. Like, maybe your opponent kills one of your orbitals, but that should be about it. Just fly your starport over onto your planetary base, start rebuilding depots there already, because you know that's going to be the first thing that's going to fall eventually. And then I think you should be fine, as long as you move quickly enough to kill your opponent's bases, and then eventually go back to defend. Gonna get another attempted sniper on the Colossus, doesn't quite work. We still have how many Colossi remaining? 3 Colossi remaining, as well as 3 Vikings. Not loving the fact that the GG Goat machine is the only one still adding units into the mix. And I'm also not loving the fact that Soon is flying towards the bottom right side base, the only base that is taken by the opponent, and not floating to the base where you pretty much have a stronghold. Like, with a planetary fortress, it's going to be pretty tough to die. Like, if you have an army near a planetary fortress, usually life is going to be okay. It's split off a couple of units over here. Despite all of those mistakes, though, I think we're still in a position right now where the GG Goat machine has a significantly worse life. Because there is an orbital over here. There is a planetary over here. That means 2 bases. The ability to mule. Lots of production for Soon, which, if you were to fly to a safe spot, would be great. The only problem is we don't have any depots. There is a lot of cash, but 0 depots makes it hard to produce. And the fact that GG Goat machine wants to defend his bottom right side base also is going to make it very hard. Okay, this thing should actually die, no? Stim forward, kill this base. I love this orbital command block, actually. I've never seen this before, but it's a relatively intelligent play. Making it hard for the opponent to actually defend that. Losing all your production is probably a non-optimal solution. Also been slightly overstimmed. This is a fat tip, but if you're fighting against buildings that can't fight back, you don't need to stim your entire army every single time. Because they're not fighting back. Like, as long as you kill it eventually, usually it's okay. Okay, we have an extra command center on the way. Still no production whatsoever, though. Like, hasn't even built a barracks here. This guy legitimately has the anticipation for problems of a freaking city duck. Like, you give this guy a loaf of bread, he eats it today, he's hungry tomorrow again. As we're gonna get a fight here. No EMPs are being used. Full stim on absolutely everyone. Not full HP on anything. No EMPs being used in this battle either. Lifts in front of the stalkers and then dies. 3 mules into the XDDDDDD. This is the perfect example of legitimately the average Terran game that I get. Like, watch a Terran move across the map with a build that doesn't exist, execute it like he's a 5-year-old with a half a brain, completely win the game despite all of those mistakes at Grandmaster level, complain about issues that are non-existent. He was talking about freaking sentry hallucinations scouting the entire time. I'm not even sure if his opponent used a single hallucination in the entirety of the game. I don't think he did. I think there was a Guardian Shield at some point, but no freaking hallucination. Because hallucination after the patch is actually pretty freaking expensive to do in the early game. It costs you a chrono boost, and you need to use the chrono boost in order to stay up to date with the Terran. Like, the Terran is freaking ahead, forgets to scout a hidden base for 15 minutes into the game, flies all of his production away from his safe space after initiating a base trade himself, which was completely scouted, while being double the supply, having tanks at home and having mines at home, still losing set base trade, somehow managing to fall behind in supply, then fighting with an overstimmed army while you have 3 medevacs, not using a single spell in the final fight, and then complaining about balance. This is the average Terran experience, okay? These guys have the most insane victim complex of anything they've ever seen. Like, I get freaking 20 emails like this every single week, and you think, surely once the Terrans reach Grandmaster, High Grandmaster, start winning tournaments, this stops. No, it never freaking stops. These guys cannot stop crying no matter what happens. This guy had actually 100% won the game in 5 different ways before the 10-minute mark, manages to throw it because you didn't scout a hidden base. And because you made terrible decisions. And that's okay. These things happen. But I cannot understand that if you actually watch this replay, you look back on this and you think to yourself, you know what the real freaking problem was in this game? Is that the warp gates get hotkeyed automatically. Like, the guy had his own gateways in a hotkey. It's like, this would have been like 1 click out of freaking 10,000 in this game. Like, you're reaching for stuff so freaking far away. There's so much low-hanging fruit in front of you, and like fat strawberries ready for the picking, and you're like buying a 10,000 feet ladder to start sniffing the oxygen like up on a freaking mountain. Like, what's wrong with you? Just look at the stuff right in front of you, man. So, is Protoss mechanically imbalanced? It is completely possible that Protoss is mechanically imbalanced, but this game would have been the absolute worst example of that. And what this game was a great example of instead was you absolutely sucking. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that you, my dear friend, sucked. That's it. If you believe you have some true imbalance, or if you're a Terran player and you feel wronged, be sure to leave a comment down below, or use the Google Docs to submit your own replay. We need new replays because there are new maps now as well. And you want to see some of those new maps in the IODIS. So love you all. Bye-bye.